I am Jim Stout from ADSR Sounds.
And I'm Mike Acosta.
I'm Jimmy Alvarez of Matrix Sessions.
And this is actually a pretty different gear chat that we're going to be doing. We're here at Matrix Sessions in Orange County, here in California. And they just did the grand opening. Obviously, they're in partnership with Tool Room Academy. Lots of great people coming through here. And we definitely wanted to touch base with the guys here at Matrix Sessions to give you guys an inside look at what goes on here, what their thoughts were when they created Matrix Sessions as a whole, and we'll be discussing why they choose Ableton Live to be their DAW of choice here for all their mentees and for themselves personally. So the first thing we'll start up, Jim, what was the original idea for Matrix? What was like the spark that really kind of kicked it off? And what made you want to make it different than normal kind of schools?
Well, actually, Matrix Sessions was founded by the founder, Brian Matrix, and it actually started way back at Icon Collective, where Brian was a mentor there. That's actually where I met Brian. He was my mentor there as well. And Brian had his own way of teaching, and the level that it took the students in the little amount of time is, really speaks for itself. Brian ended up starting Matrix Sessions, doing his thing over here, and his idea, his way of thinking, his workflow that he's created for presenting music production and actually creating music is taken from his level of expertise, all of his schooling. He attended Lars, SAE, all kinds of production under that guy's belt. He's amazing, and really he's created something that doesn't and hasn't existed up till now.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing. Because I've known Brian for a really, really long time. Brian and I started out. I was DJing. Let's say mid to early '90s is when I met Brian. I would be DJing at a lot of the different clubs back then, and Brian at that time was more of the opener guy, and so I met him there, and we just started playing at a lot of events together, and always a really, really cool, down-to-earth, good-hearted, guy, just super, super chill.
Yeah.
There was never that ego problem. Yeah. That you came across.
Ego problem in the music industry?
No, right? It's the one thing that I appreciated, because I was always I got booked for primetime spots or whatnot, but I was the kind of DJ that I didn't really have a problem if I had to play earlier or whatnot. And Brian was kind of the same way. It's cool, man. Let's just make it happen, have fun. So when I first started seeing the whole, I met Brian. I saw Brian when we were doing a roll-in clinic at SAE. And nice. Brian came through with, I guess, the other co-founder of Icon Collective at the time.
Yeah.
And he came into the studio where we were doing a clinic on something, and he saw I was teaching.
Nice.
And he was like, Mike, what up, man?
Yeah.
And then we hadn't seen each other in a while, and it was cool to see that, he was telling me about Icon Collective and what he wanted to do and whatnot. And I thought it was really a great concept, not so much from come sign up with us. We're going to take your money and we're going to show you this. Brian's whole approach was really more about really catering to one specific student and not so much
and you hit it right on the head with the whole ego thing. You know what I mean? That's what's completely wiped out of the door the minute you walk into our facility. Everybody, really what we want to kind of change and create in the music industry is the whole me factor. We want to take that out, because it really is a team. And a lot of these upcoming guys and stuff, they don't realize that all these huge guys have a huge team behind them, and it's no one doing it by themselves. And not even that, it's just about sharing knowledge and uplifting each other, and guys don't get it, that when one member of the team goes, the whole team goes with it, and that's how a real team works. So I mean, like I say, you hit it right on. Matrix Sessions is really about catering to the individual. We definitely aren't a school. I mean, it's not in a sense where we have a specific curriculum, or you have to be at you can't go here because we're on this subject kind of thing. Every artist has their own path. So we really, you know, evaluate each person. We really get to know the person, and you know, our only requirement is that music is what you want to do. Right.
Now,
that's it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys not only, I mean, when you get into Matrix Sessions, you're not just learning about how to make music. You're learning about the industry. You guys, you know, you put their portfolio together for them. You do all their headshots.
Press kits, photo shoots.
All of that.
We offer all that to them, and it's no extra charge. It's not, you know, it's something that, you know, you guys can attest. You know, there's so much great music out there that will never ever get heard. They'll never, and it's unfortunately because they don't have that kind of resource. They don't
and
have
unfortunately,
those,
there's a lot of bad music that I've heard.
They have awesome press kits and photo shoots, and you know, and that's what, you know. It's almost like we want to kind of even the playing field for everyone, and you know, really let the guys with real talent shine, and you know.
Because I think that's really like the most important aspect of it. And you know, getting to know, you know, the people that come in, that's so important, because there's so many people in just the music industry in general that are, you know, it's all about me.
Exactly.
Me. And
what can I get?
And it's hard, you know, and especially when you see those kind of people succeed.
Yeah.
It's like no, you know, it's like.
I mean, that was the thing too. Like, you know, I started producing actual records. You know, I'd say early to mid '90s is when I was putting out stuff on like Underground Construction and Aqua Boogie and all these other labels at the time. And the one thing that I always did notice, you know, because I had gone to Chicago and I went to the studios over there and I was working with like Alex Peace and Bam Bam and all these other cats from Underground Construction. And it was really cool to go to the Underground Construction studio, which was a massive building that had like 30 studios inside, and it was busy around the clock. There was always people there working. And every room that you went to, it's like, oh, there's Rick Garcia. Oh, there's Josh Collins. Oh, you know, everybody was all in the building. You know, and everybody would walk around and they would swap knowledge, and that's how they worked on these projects together and collaborations. And when I would come back to LA, there was none of that here at all.
Especially in LA.
And you couldn't even ask anybody, like, how do you do this? Or, you know, there was no YouTube, there was no instructional videos. So it really depended on who you knew and who was going to kind of guide you.
But there were a lot of places, and I'm not going to name this one specific place, but they did a lot of really big stuff. And there were a bunch of guys that had rooms, and nobody talked to each other. Yeah. And they didn't want to talk or hang out because they were all scared that someone was going to steal their secret sauce. Exactly. And they were like, you know, and it reminds me of that Looney Tunes cartoon with Daffy Duck, when they're heading to Pismo Beach and they come into that cave and they find all like gold. Mine. That's exactly what it was like, you know. And I'm fresh off the boat. I was like, you know, I first got to LA and I was just like, oh my God, this is cool. And these rooms had gear.
It's amazing, yeah.
Gear, right? and like some of this. And every room was just like, you know, and then just packed with cool stuff. And I just wanted to chat, you know, with the guys and talk about gear, and they were like, you know, shutting the door. You know, all of them were like that. You know, so to have that kind of mentality where it's like, you know, we all get there together, that's so
very different.
And it's dope because, like, you know, you just see it right now within the camp. You know, it's in, you know, our program is a 4-month program. So it's, you know, not a whole lot of time. And the level that all of these guys are jumping up, it's so self-satisfying, you know, and there's no question about it. It's like, oh, well, you know, anyone that understands music and knows it takes time, and you got to pay dues. You know, it ain't gonna happen in 4 months. It ain't gonna happen. You know, don't get me wrong. It might, like, you might get lucky. You might be that guy, or you might have the right strong team behind you, whatever. But the main thing,
strong team behind
you know what I'm saying. But the main thing is that, you know, you inside, you are watching yourself just grow as a producer, and it's, you know, learning almost the techniques on how to teach yourself or how to obtain. Cause there's so much stuff to learn.
It's never ending because
really
I've been doing this for
exactly
longer than I say
how long, you know, but like 25 years plus, you know, and I'm always learning. Like everybody always like, oh man, I wish I could be like, you know, where you're at and this. And it's like,
it just takes
I'm always learning though. It never stops.
It becomes addicting.
Well,
like
the other thing too, it's like, especially as technology, you know, marches on, there become certain techniques that are no longer used. You know, like for instance, I'm an old school Logic guy, right? And I used to build these really elaborate environments in Logic, you know, and I loved them. I could do all kinds of crazy stuff, but I'd pull up these insane environments and stuff. But now that you know, Logic has moved on, there's so much in there that never gets used anymore, like Dead Sea Scroll kind of stuff. You know, so it's trying to just, I mean, it's always good to have that knowledge, but you're totally right. You just got to keep it up, you know, because things change. You know, who would have thought, you know, okay, and this is a great segue into Ableton. Now, when Ableton first launched, there was really nothing like it. You know, kind of the mindset and the way it worked.
People were still trying to figure out exactly
what it was.
What is it doing or what is it targeting?
And so, you know, you can imagine like just 20 years ago, say you go to school and you learn all this stuff and you learned everything to, you know, to analog tape.
And that's no longer valid.
So all the time that you learned, and I remember like having the 2-inch reels and Rupert Neve going 1K tone, and you're sitting there dialing in, you know, you're calibrating this massive, you know, I used to calibrate this massive like Studer A80, I believe it was, 24. But yeah, and so you just have this tape and you do, and you have to, test tones. You know, put it all in. I mean, that's like a lost art form. You know,
now we just sweep frequencies on an EQ.
You don't have to do it. You know, you don't have to calibrate really.
Yeah,
and here's where it's kind of evolved, because now you're seeing that same kind of test tone, you know, being incorporated into products like you see from monitors from Genelec and things that have the microphone testing. So like if you have a small home studio, and now you can actually do this at home, and you put the test microphone in the center of the room, you run it through the test tones and everything to maximize, you know, the frequency spectrum on the monitors themselves according to the room that you're in, you know, and there was nothing like that back then, you know, but it's still some of the same concepts, you know, behind the test tones. And
well, the science never changes.
Yeah.
You know, the physics of sound is not going to change, but, you know, what comes in, like a lot of, K-metering, you know, there's a whole new big emphasis on that and really understanding how digital works versus analog.
Yeah.
I think, and people are finally starting to come around to it, but you cannot treat digital the same way you treat analog.
At all.
You know, people just try and put everything on the red and analog and try and digital, and it doesn't work like that.
And you can, you're sorry, but you're never going to be able to recreate analog digitally. It's just, I mean, you can't. You can get it close, and only the trained ear will tell you, which is why us digital producers are so successful these days. But I mean, you're right. It's a different language.
Yeah, but I think things are finally starting to sound better. You know, because people are learning that digital doesn't work like that. Because I think what's happened now is like the whole new, you know, crew of kids and everybody, they've only known the digital domain. You know, there was like, you know, the guys like us who, you know, were in analog for a while, and then we moved to digital. And that transition was a little painful, you know, because we're like,
it was rough.
You know, it's like, this doesn't, why does it sound like crap? Everything's distorted, not because it doesn't work the same. So learning those, you know, concepts of stuff, it gets back to your original point, you never stop learning.
And that's really what Brian has masterfully created. I mean, he was taught and brought up and by all the old school techniques, and he also learned all the new school digital, and he literally has brought them together and found this. I mean, that's what we're doing in Ableton, is we're recreating these sounds, and they're so big and full and warm, and it's like, you guys are doing that in Ableton? Yeah.
No, digital kicks ass when you know how to use it properly.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the big things that people think. I think, you know, a lot of people really do look at, and I'm not going to start you know, this is not digital versus analog.
Yeah, no.
We're not getting into that
at all. You can't mess with analog.
No, well, it's like, I still think a lot of people put, you know, have rose-colored glasses when they're looking at analog. You know, like the whole vintage synth market, you know. The brutal reality is, like, you know, a lot of these synthesizers and stuff, you know, trying to run everything CV, shit was really unstable, things didn't work all the time. So I think they kind of had this, you know, this thinking that it was really cool. Or it was, you know, it was so much better back then. It really wasn't. It was a giant pain in the ass. Yeah. You know, like when the brakes go out on a 2-inch, you know, machine. People don't realize how heavy a mag of 2-inch tape is. You know, FX 499 is like, it's heavy, and when that motherfucker starts spinning and, you know, it runs out of tape or the tape snaps or, you know, you stretch it, you know, whatever. It's something really, really stupid. And if you spool it wrong, I had an intern one time put the 2-inch tape on the machine and he spooled it wrong. And as soon as you hit stop, it went whoosh, and put a big old stretch right in the middle of a song, you know? And it's like, you can't fix that.
Yeah, there's no command
Z. You know, you're not going to be able to fix that. But there were some guys I saw that did, like, you know, we're doing razor edits, you know, in 2-inch, like blocking out little, like, how the hell are they sitting there doing it?
I used to have to do that. I used to get the China marker and I'd be right there and then scrub. And then, you know, when you see the scrubbing on the DAWs, that's what it was, is we were scrubbing the tape. And
I couldn't imagine.
That's crazy.
No, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like, it wasn't that cool, you know? In digital, we could fix that. No problem. And number one, it wouldn't happen to begin with. Yeah. You know? I mean, the most you'll ever do is, like, you know, accidentally format something or name it wrong or put it in a different folder and you're like, what the hell did I call this? You know, where did it go? You know, but I think, again, you know, let's talk a little bit about Ableton. And that software really has just kind of like, you know, it's from where it originally first came out, it doesn't, in all honesty, look that much different, you know, than the first, you know, I think I bought it 2.0.
Yeah, version 2.
I think it was like 2001, around
something
there.
like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the overall interface hasn't changed a whole much, but I think under the hood is really where we're seeing
the algorithms and the stretching and everything. So why did you guys decide to use that as the de facto standard?
I mean, I would say Ableton for us, most importantly, revolves around workflow. It's very fast. I mean, you can move around so quick. You can generate ideas on the fly. And, you know, one of the big thing Ableton does is it allows you to create macros. And macros, you know, for us and you know, Brian's art and his way of creating macros that he's passing to us is it allows you to move so fast. I mean, and it's just, you know, you can save. So if you're working on a bass line and you know, you have all these different plugins that you're using, which if we're talking just Ableton has super powerful stock plugins. Mm-hmm. And that's, you know, like you said, under the hood, in reality, you really can make some solid sounds. You don't need any third-party stuff, you know what I mean? Obviously everyone uses them, but we're just talking about Ableton. So, you know, being able to create that, save it, put it away, and in a totally different project, not have to, you know, okay, cool, one by one, you know, go back into the thing, take, cool, I need to do this, just have something to put there, and now you can just start tweaking from there is, you know, that alone right there is super powerful.
Yeah, I think the warping, you know, once that finally kind of got dialed in, because I remember like with the early stuff, you know, warping stuff was a pain in the ass. Like, so there's no way to put it. It was just like, damn it, you know, going and putting all these markers and stuff and making sure everything was right there. Now it's pretty.
It's
quick, you know. It's
and I think the algorithm that they use now is getting really close to where it knows exactly where the transients are. It can analyze, and it's getting a lot better. And it's really easy and quick.
And it's super user friendly to change if you do need to adjust a little bit.
And with the macros, so I'm also guessing that you guys have chosen, you know, that route because when you have a macro or a custom drum rack or whatever it is that's been saved, I mean, obviously that is also a good way when you share that with a mentee for them to learn the signal chain and what was done, taking a look at the settings, you know, and it may not apply to every single sound. Obviously you get macros and every sound is different. So using presets isn't always, it'll kind of get you in the ballpark, which is a good starting point. But, you know, with Ableton, I will agree, like with the macros, if you're using it as a way to teach, I can definitely see the value in that where, you know, if I was learning, and one of the big problems to this day that I still hate dealing with is the relationship between the kick, the sub, and the mid-frequency bass and how all of that gels together. So having a cool channel strip that has been dialed in, it at least gets you in the ballpark.
And it also helps you, you know, like you guys can attest to in music, it's also about what you're hearing. It's not always about technique. I mean, if it sounds good, if it feels good, like it's good. You know what I mean? Like It's good.
It sounds good.
So, you know,
I think Joe Meek said it best, you know, when it's, what did he say? It was like, if it sounds right, it is, you know?
Yeah, and of course you're saying that within context that you're applying technique and all that stuff, but so like with a macro, you know, perfect example of how we would use it to kind of teach it, we're, you know, trying to match, you know, your ear with your brain or per se, or what you're doing, you know, you can start a macro and you can, you know, literally from the end, turn everything off. And as you're turning one by one off, you're hearing, you know, so not only are you hearing how all of those plugins, all those VSTs work together, if you're using VSTs or if you're using stock Ableton, how all the audio effects, you know, whatever you're using works together and what each one of them is doing by itself. So, you know, you break it down, you build it up. And then, like you said, not everyone is going to work the same for every sound. So now now you're learning even more. Now I got to twist this. Now, okay, what's the threshold do? What's it, you know what I mean? So you're getting in deeper and deeper and that's just, you know, we're just talking about macros. You know, that's just a small piece.
Well, the other thing too, I think about Ableton is it's cross-platform.
Yeah.
You know, it's Mac and PC, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's
and audio units and VST plugins.
Both, yeah.
Yeah.
That's another really cool thing.
There's a few DAWs that do it, but it's, you know, that's, if you're in Logic, you know, you're on Mac, you know, there's no way around it.
If you're on FL Studio, you're all PC until they finally decide.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's been coming out for a decade, you know, the Mac version of FL Studio.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's even some guys starting getting into the Unix stuff. And Linux and these other, you know, kind of things. But I think that is a very important aspect of it.
Yeah.
Ableton is, you know, it's cross-platform. It doesn't require any hardware like Pro Tools does, you know. I think that when you look at the scope of everything out there, it makes the most sense, you know, for you guys to just focus on that.
Yeah, and I mean the capabilities, like you said, are huge, and you know, both, you know, it's got your arrangement view, your session view, which both views you can actually make music in, and you can generate ideas in. So, you know, just understanding the full capability of the program is one of, you know, the very first things that we do here at Matrix Sessions, is to show you how powerful Ableton is just by itself.
Yeah, my only problem with Ableton is I have option anxiety. You know, I just start throwing all kinds of in there, and especially in session view, you know, where it's just like, I'm just
this
like
sounds good.
rocking.
Well, what it is, you know, you got your session view, and then, I mean, even with that, you could be going to your session view, and with the resampling capabilities of Ableton, you just hit record, and all of a sudden you got your, you know what I mean?
Brilliant.
So, I mean,
you're creating your own sample library on the fly.
Exactly, literally on the fly. And again, if you know, when you make Ableton and you become really one with it, you're getting 4 or 5 things done at one time, per se. You know what I mean?
Well, it's an instrument at that point,
exactly.
you know, and I think that was like their original concept.
That's why they called it live, was to perform live with it, which was the session view.
Which a lot of guys DJ with it even now.
I
for sure.
I DJ'd with it, you know. I use it for a lot of stuff, and I always go back to it. But it's like, you know, for me, I've always I don't know, dived in it, but I'm still like a Logic guy. Just
well, I mean, you know, we welcome Logic in Matrix Sessions too. You know,
it's fine.
We don't discriminate.
Well, I'm kind of mad at Apple right now, anyway. But I think you know, but
that's another topic.
Yeah, that's a whole other gear chat. But I think it really is an amazing program.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've never met anybody that says, "Oh, I hate Ableton. I hate Live."
Not that there isn't people out there, but in all honesty, I'm the same way.
I've never seen it. I've never seen anybody talk about Live.
I think when they look at somebody who knows how to use it, you can't. I mean, what can you say bad about it? You know what I mean? And that's really what is great about the program, is that it's simple. You know, it's not about, you know, the look, like you said, the presentation's still the same, but under the hood, it's just every update is getting better and better.
Stock plugins and everything. So I could definitely see. And I think the other thing too that I personally like, and it's not to say that other DAWs can't do this, but like I like the functionality where you have your macros, you have all of these things that are like in these environment, you know, kind of things that are all encompassed in the ecosystem of Ableton. And then when you save your project file, you know, you could do the collect all and save. And so essentially you have an
Consolidated,
entire
yeah.
consolidated project, you know, and if you're a sound designer, you can actually go and take custom drum racks and samples and turn that into an ALP file. And you can send that to somebody and literally custom drum racks with your own samples that have already been mapped out and everything, you know, are all there. And you can save those instruments right into your user settings, you know, which from a sound designer's perspective, it's a really great delivery method, you know, to send stuff out. And from the teaching's perspective, you know, if you're creating these kind of things, again, it's another great delivery mechanism, you know, for somebody to open it up, everything is there. They got brand new instruments and boom, it's done.
And the sound that it puts out is great too. And I always hear the Logic Ableton more of, you know, vocals, you know, it's, you got to record or bounce out. I create an Ableton and then bounce out and go into Logic. And you know, that's great. That's a lot of work, but
yeah, but no,
it's great. It's beautiful.
There's more to the sound, you know, coming from your mic, your room, you know, all that stuff. If I can probably promise you, nobody can hear a difference.
Exactly.
If you A-beat it and you didn't tell anybody it was, and if you were maybe a about it and you said, you know, you switched them on purpose, like, no, this is the Ableton one. Oh, I can totally hear it, and it's not, you know? It's like, they don't get it.
Not,
you know, have a good mic and a good room and good cables and a good signal chain. That's going to be the most important thing when it comes to
I was guilty of that. I'll admit that. For many, many years, you know, I do most of my composition in Ableton Live, but all of my vocal tracking and any sort of like live instrument tracking, I would always do in Pro Tools. And that was only up until like Pro Tools 9. And then once they went to that whole subscription thing, I was like, all right, done. So now for vocals, I still prefer to do it in Logic. And it's not to say that Logic sounds better or anything. I just prefer the workflow for tracking live instruments in Logic because of the quick swipe comping and everything. So I'm able to just and comp my vocals perfectly. And then I just bounce them out, throw them right into Ableton, and all right, let's go. You know, and that just works for me. And I'm sure that Ableton at some point is getting into there and getting to that point where they'll have those kind of features. It's just a little bit of time.
They will. We're chasing Logic.
Yeah,
we are.
Okay, so we're gonna jump out of Ableton really quick because I'm pretty sure that a lot of people will have this question. Now, obviously, you guys originally started at the Sherman Oaks facility where I went there.
Studio City out there.
Yeah, Studio City, and that was a really nice spot.
Awesome.
And you guys opened a downtown LA location, which is really cool. It's in the heart of everything in the arts district. And now we're here at the Orange County location. So clearly people are gonna be, you know, watching this and wondering, well, if you guys are not really a school, how do you go about selecting, you know, who is going to be selected for the mentorship program? Because that was one thing I asked Brian a while back, and I found it really interesting where he wasn't worried about the money.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want all these people coming in to take their money. He goes, I'm super selective on who I choose to bring into the program because it has to do with their passion, their drive, you know, what are their ultimate goals, you know, and clearly you have different people that are coming, you know, that I'm pretty sure will say, hey man, I want to be, you know, the next, Flume, or I want to be the next, you know, Chainsmokers.
Yeah.
And, you know, how fast can you make me, you know, as big as the Chainsmokers? As opposed to the guy who's coming that's saying, I love music, man, and I would love to, you know, be there one day, but honestly, I just want to learn the craft.
Yeah, and you know, it's nothing against a guy who wants to, you know, be like the Chainsmokers or whoever, you know, whatever. But you know, yeah, that's definitely, you know, probably, you know, if a guy came in with that kind of, you know, force and attitude per se, you know, that would be a guy where we would, you know, probably not choose to move forward with at the time. You know, the door is not closed forever, but like you said, you know, we want to bring in the guys that really love music and, you know, that really want to do music for the rest of their life type kind of guy. You know what I mean? Not the guy who's looking for the quick buck, the quick hype, you know, the quick fame. You know, all that stuff is going to happen anyways if your music jumps up and gets big. You know what I mean? And music really is, it's a self-fulfilling thing as well. So we do want to keep the business side and the art side and keep the music pure. You know what I mean? And you know, for us and the process, you know, right now it's really all word of mouth type stuff as far as marketing goes. You know what I mean? Again, we're not trying to go out and, you know, build this quantity of people running around with Matrix hats on. You know, it's like we could have 1,000 of these hats running around, but if nobody knew how to produce, and that's the brand, you know what I mean? And that's the most important thing. So, you know, if somebody were to come to us and they did want to join the program, you know, it starts with an evaluation, and the evaluation is, you know, where they're at in music, you know, whether it is Ableton or Logic, how long they've been on the program, and their general knowledge of the program. And you know, like I said, there's a lot of self-taught guys out there that are super talented, but technically might have a little, you know, a little rough spots that they want to clean up, and combining all that together for that kind of producer is, I mean, the levels those guys jump is amazing. You know what I mean? The self-taught.
So it's not just for the entry level or the aspirational producer. It could also be for a more seasoned musician that just wants to brush up on his skill, and maybe move up a level or up a notch and learn something different that maybe he was having trouble with or like hasn't really tapped into yet.
100%, and being catered to the individual. You know, our program, as I said before, is 4 months, but that doesn't mean that that's all it is. I mean, if you come in here and you're just, I mean, your music's swinging, it's, you know, and it's like, yo, you need 3 months, 2 months max. I mean, like you said, we're not about trying to, you know, take the money, and, you know what I mean? It's not about that. I mean, especially in the beginner sense, you know, I had a kid, and, you know, his mom wanted to pay in full right away. And, but the kid has never been on Ableton, and, you know, and, you know, I just told her, hey, let's slow down real quick. You know what I mean? Let's, you know, the last thing I want is, you know, this, you know, let's see if your son even wants to be in music. You know, I mean, it's not just, you know, there's a lot of hype out there today with DJs and music producers, and everybody wants to be one.
It seems like everybody is.
Exactly, you know, and until they actually realize, oh, like, this is hard. Like, this isn't easy.
You mean I gotta work?
Yeah, like, wait, I gotta think. Like,
you mean it's not like an iPhone where I just press an app and voila.
Exactly. And then once you get past the thinking, oh wait, I gotta be creative. Like, I actually have to find and know myself, and that's really what Matrix is all about. Because, you know, a lot of music is recycled, and a lot of it does sound alike. But, you know, finding your sound is more than just about, you know, the preset that you're changing or whatever. It's really being comfortable with who you are and the style of music you're making, and from that and the journey, that's how your sound is created. You know what I mean? It's created by mixing experiences and things and technique and everything as you're, you know, forming this ball that is your music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's a very, very, you know, important aspect of it, you know, is finding your sound.
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of people who are always chasing other sounds. Like, oh, I want to be like this person, or I want to be like this person, or I want to be like, you know, but the real trick to it is like, you know, we'll use the Chainsmokers as an example. The Chainsmokers didn't set out to, you know, sound like anybody else. They kind of, you know, developed their own sound, and all of a sudden they wanted to, you know, people wanted to be like them. And I've seen it with, you know, so many different genres, and so many different artists. You know, somebody wants to be, you know, Drake, or, you know, whatever else, you know, people want, and they try and chase that sound. But the most important part is discovering your own sound.
Exactly.
Emulation is fun when you're learning, and those are part of your influences, and that will go into your sound. Ultimately, will become your sound. But you know, some people are always talking shit. They're like, oh, you know, I don't use presets or whatever. Stop it.
Yeah,
just
relax.
Stop.
Relax. Yeah, come on.
And because everybody uses presets,
exactly,
and there's
everybody
nothing wrong with it, you know, because there are some amazing sound designers out there. They're not really good producers, but they're incredible sound designers.
Exactly,
you know, and I think, and these guys spend a lot of time building up their craft, and then they share it, and that gets used into other stuff.
And there's nothing wrong with being inspired by other people's stuff. So, and it's like, you know, the guys that, oh, I don't use presets this, and I'm just in my head, you know, okay, well, you know, you're not using them right, because the way you should be using presets is learn from it. You know what I mean? You take a preset, you break it down completely, you go backwards with it.
It's like using it as a starting point.
Here's the other thing.
So many things you could do with it.
Here's the other thing. If you've ever used a 909 kick drum, that's a preset.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, seriously.
Use the preset, you jackass.
Like, if you've ever used a drum machine or anything, if a piano, guess what? It's a preset.
Yeah.
The piano's only got one preset. but it sounds great.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, that's the kind of concept, you know?
Yeah, it's true.
Like, people don't really think about, like, okay, TR-808 drum sounds, you know? The toms, those are presets.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, yeah, can you manipulate them? Yes. So can other presets in the synth, you know? It's just
any
like,
preset that you load up can be manipulated.
Yeah, and so that's why I always laugh with these guys, like, oh, I don't use presets. I'm like, yeah, you do.
And that's the whole like definition of finding your sound. I mean, you're taking a little bit from everything to create something of your own.
Yeah, you find what you like in something, tailor it to like your style and what suits
every
you.
art in the world has had its inspiration points. You know, some of it's completely ripped off. You know, and I think was Steve Jobs who said it. You know, and I generally don't like quoting Steve Jobs because I feel like everybody quotes Steve Jobs. But he said something like, "Great artists create, good artists create, great artists steal."
Yeah, yeah,
something like that.
There can be more than one of a good thing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's, you know, and that path and discovering that, you know, and the accidents, you know, and I was asking what's his name? Pierre, DJ Pierre. I was hanging out with him one time in Miami, and I asked him, I said, what drove you to use the TB303? You mean, that thing was like a steaming pile of crap that Roland couldn't get rid of. Yeah. You know, they had piles of them that were selling for like $20, you know?
Nobody wanted them.
What possessed you to make this? And he's like, honestly, man, I was just trying to make a bass line, and it said bass line on it.
Yeah.
And that was it. And it created that entire freaking world of stuff, you know? And not saying that, you know, the 303s weren't on other, you know, tracks before then, you know, but it wasn't used in that kind of way.
Not in that fashion.
You know, I mean, there's a bunch of tracks that the 303's been on that they're not acid tracks, you know? I think one of them was Heaven 17. Used it a lot, you know, and there was a bunch of Alex Robotnik, you know, early stuff. What's the track that's in European Vacation?
Oh, Holiday Road?
Not Holiday Road. When they're at the disco and whatever that, I can't remember. Wow, it's freaking straight up acid.
Yeah.
You know, if you listen to it, but it's pretty funny. But anyway, that's part of it, is that discovery. You know, the happy accidents that we talk about those all the time.
Love those.
You know, and those are the kind of things that we eventually come into to make your own sound.
And that, you know, and that's another thing that this kind of like trails back into a little bit, you know, with Ableton, and we're talking about happy accidents and discovering your sound. You know, when you start getting into the, you know, the warping, you know, because they have the different algorithms for the warping that you can use, you know, as you start messing with the algorithms and using algorithms on things that they probably weren't really meant for, and you start messing with it, whether it's the grain or it's the formant, but you're messing with grain and formant on like a piano sound or something like that, and you start getting these weird textures and things, and you're like, that sounds cool, and then you capture it. Yeah. I mean, it works great in that aspect of sound design and discovering your own sound from all those little things that you wouldn't even think of. You know?
Oh, absolutely. When there was a great line, when you turn a knob and it does something, techno happens. You know?
That's tight.
You know.
And it's cool, like that's one that and you said it great, because, you know, it's one thing, you know, let's say, for example, I could sit and stare at Ableton, and I could probably try anything, right? But where do I start? Like, what do I try on what? Once you kind of understand that, like you said, this might not work here, but I know what it does here. So now I know what I'm playing with, per se, and now I know how to create happy accidents. So it's like, and then the best thing about, you know, it doesn't work, cool, you know, Command Z.
No big deal, yeah.
That's always it, Command Z, it didn't, okay, cool, take it off.
It's your best friend.
You wasted no time, you know?
Undo.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody can prove anything.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, man, I mean, that's really, you know, our evaluation process and, you know, all that. I really think it was created and started by just, you know, Brian and the way he is, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't start Matrix Sessions with Brian. I came into Matrix Sessions as a mentee. You know, Brian's been my mentor, like I said, since Icon. You know, he's been my mentor ever since. You know, what it's turned into is, you know, a blessing that, you know, you can't even explain, type of thing. And just seeing Brian and, you know, where he could be for himself as opposed to what he gets out of watching others succeed, you know, that's really what Matrix Sessions is all about, and that's really how we bring in our guys.
Well, you're definitely creating a family
exactly.
at that point. You know?
And now Brian was supposed to be here today, but it's actually his birthday.
It is.
Happy birthday,
happy
Brian.
Happy birthday, brother.
We have Jimmy sitting in, and you know, Jimmy runs the OC location here, so it's all good. Now, so what is coming down the line? Like, what's the next step, you know, for Matrix Sessions? Like, I know that you guys just partnered with Tool Room.
Yes.
And everything. You guys have the Tool Room Academy and partnerships here.
Yes.
And I've been seeing that you guys are, you know, obviously Matrix Sessions and ADSR, you know, we've got some things planned together.
Absolutely.
With other, you know, third-party, you know, hardware manufacturers and things like that. So we've got some really cool things happening that way. But with bringing in Tool Room and everything, what is down the roadmap for Matrix Sessions in the next, let's say, you know, 2 years?
I would, you know, I would say we want to, you know, when we say build a team and a family, it's not just with Matrix Sessions. I mean, now it's with you guys. Now it's with Tool Room. I mean, we are, you know, like I said, what Brian has created is powerful in that realm, but there's so many other realms, and there's so many. You know, we also just teamed up with Zen World. You know, for sound design stuff, because it's like, dope, you know, we can crush and run through Ableton like champs, but sound design's a whole other world. Yep. And you know, you're not trying to claim something. Oh, hey, this guy's the man here. We want to be with you. You know, and Zen's awesome. You know, his attitude. He shares the same drive to educate and teach. And I really think that's what it is. You know, is just continue to try and build strong producers and tag up with other like-minded, you know, guys that want to spread knowledge, you know?
Yeah, no, the sound design aspect is one of the biggest things that I think people overlook.
Absolutely.
And, you know, because a good sound will spark creativity. You know, it's just how it happens. You'll hear something and you're like, whoa, damn. Yeah. You know, and then all of a sudden you have. So, you know, I think that I love hearing that, you know, that you guys are, you know, focusing on the sound design aspect of stuff. Yeah. You know, because I've loved sound design, loved it, you know, and I really, for the longest time, wanted to do a lot of movie sound design and stuff like that. Yeah. And it was funny when I moved to Austin, I was trying to get a job at this game company as a sound designer. They wouldn't hire me. So I said, all right, you. Here's what I'm going to do. I put together a sound library called Game Effects and released it on Hollywood Edge.
Oh, nice.
So they hired me anyway, didn't even realize it. You know,
that's a win right there.
Yeah, so it's just like, you know what, and that was my inspiration. It was like getting turned down. You know, Hollywood Edge picked me up.
Why'd they turn you down?
Whatever reason.
And that just shows to prove that it's how it sounds. Because it sounded good, they liked it. That's just the funny thing about it. So I think, you know, but sound design is you know, for theater and film and stuff, it's just
it's a whole other world.
I mean, I would love to, you know, I love these guys, and we did an interview with Alan Howarth.
Yeah.
And he dropped a lot of knowledge on how he created, like, you know, some of the most famous sound effects, you know,
like Halloween, he told us like everything what he did for The Thing,
the Poltergeist.
So Jim and I were just sitting there like,
like John Brown.
and cool. You know, and his inspiration and his thought process is to come up with these iconic sounds. Yeah. And, you know, he broke down exactly how he did the Christine, what's her name?
Oh, the Carrie Ann voice.
Carrie Ann voice.
Oh, yeah.
No, I wanted Christine, because he did Christine too.
Yeah.
But the Carrie Ann voice, and it was fascinating to hear him talk about it. And I tried recreating that effect a lot, but there was one thing that I didn't realize that he was doing was the tape manipulation. He was speeding up and slowing down
in real time.
Oh shit!
And there's a great moment in the video where Steven Spielberg is like commands him to make this sound, and he's like, "Well, what do you want it to sound like?" He's like, "From Mars to Venus," or something like that.
From Venus to Earth.
From Venus to Earth, or something like that.
And Alan was like
himself. He's
like, I'm about to get fired, dude.
You know, like when Steven Spielberg is
really, what do you?
Yeah, so but it's fascinating. He's such a great dude too.
It points out like exactly what we're talking about: discovering your own sound and learning. Because a lot of these things, you know, it wasn't like he was like, oh, I know how to do that. These were all accidents. He was like, oh, I was messing with this, and then I figured I would do this, and then it actually sounded cool, and it was the wrong way to do it, but it worked.
Yeah.
And so it.
No, he designed the original sound for the Star Trek, the motion picture, for the warp drive.
Oh, wow.
That was him.
That's dope.
You know, and I mean, he's been behind so many like famous things. And there's another great sound designer, Anne Chiavelli. She's done all the new Star Trek movies. She's done like tons of them, tons of like amazing movies. I have to look it up. But there's those start getting those kind of guys in there. That would be fascinating.
And when you can sit in front of like a laptop and just as far as like creating and trying stuff, like the faster you can use the other part of your brain and not the part where, oh, how do I do this? I'm supposed to. The minute that's gone, that's when you can actually dive in. And now and that's really what we want to do too here, because so much of music production is, this might sound weird, but it has nothing to do with Ableton. You know what I mean? It has to do with your way of thinking, where you're at in life, just all of that kind of stuff, and just being comfortable with the road that you're on and where you're at in the road, as opposed to
not being afraid to experiment.
Exactly,
push the envelope a little bit.
Right, exactly. Push the envelope, try new things, and get those happy accidents.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, I love it when that happens, but a lot of times it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you've got deadlines and you've got to deliver stuff, you don't have time to around with certain things, and unfortunately you don't, but sometimes those accidents still come through. As long as you just keep working on stuff, it's gonna happen, and things are gonna get broken or whatever. But that's, how do you balance that experimentation? And once, and I think a lot of artists have had this problem. They've come up with a sound, and then all of a sudden the next album they completely change their sound, and nobody likes it.
And what's cool about Ableton is, like I said, you can, let's say you make a sound and you have this whole preset MIDI area. I mean, you can take the whole track, save it. I mean, you do that over your career, and all of a sudden you run out of ideas, and guess what? You get to go back into your think box, and now you bring up something that you would have never, ever rethought of at that point in time.
Dude,
you know what I'm saying?
That actually just happened to me.
I
swear to God.
But I mean, that's the thing. When you have deadlines and you're doing all that stuff, the more you can go back and be like, I don't want to think, I just want to know, but you did it already. You know what I mean? And that's a lot of stuff where it's like, you're working, and all of a sudden, and Ableton's great at it now, but, Ableton crashes. Oh, cool, it's going to save pretty much everything, because if it didn't, I mean, I'm not going to remember every twist, knob, turn I did exactly. Yeah, you can never recreate it the exact same way. So, but that's another thing. I mean, just, we have days, one of the things we teach is where you can't always be working on music. You can't always just be trying to make a song. It's like, some days you're working on just bass line. Some days it might just be lead. Some days drums, but you're not just working and wasting time. You're working, cool, you're saving ideas as you work, but you're not getting distracted, because it's so easy to want to jump into music. Other days, we allot time to, geek out, as we call it, learn.
That's what
teach yourself.
That's Brian that day.
Yeah, and that Brian has taught myself, and we teach the camp how important that is, and how to go find information to continuously grow your craft.
Well, the other thing too, you think about. I mean, it's not just always making music, right?
Exactly.
There's file management. There's
organization's huge.
Keeping everything in a place where you can find it.
Exactly.
And this is something I struggle with. I'm a freaking scatterbrain. And Mike is amazing at it. Mike is amazing at organization. Like I remember one time. He came in on my second boy was born. I flew him out so he could run the ship for me while I was in the hospital. And I get back to my office, and the computer's all organized, all the files are done.
I'm OCD, dude.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
She's laughing because I did the same to her.
He straigns the whole room.
It's great. And
I'm like, what the
No, I'm so jealous of that capability he has. Everything he does always just looks pretty.
Yeah.
And and it's such a struggle for me. And so learning that kind of aspect, of how to deliver products, how to format things, where things are, how to optimize your drives,
Exactly.
He showed
troubleshooting.
He showed me a lot of really cool little little apps, and clearing out your memory and other stuff that's made a huge difference in just like the daily routine.
Yeah,
and that's all the other stuff that you have to look on. It's not just making the music; it's a lifestyle.
And it comes with so many other things that you have to perfect as well. You know what I mean? It's hard. It's very hard.
Organization, but prepping is another big deal. Man.
It's the chase that we love, you know. I mean,
it's
not hard. I mean, Ableton, that rainbow wheel of death will sometimes be the end of me, but hey, it's we love it, you know.
Yeah,
what I mean?
Learning how to force quit something.
Yeah, you just have to do it sometimes. It saves time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the organization factor is super key because, you know, when you want to find a sound, being able to, you know, again, take days where you organize samples and these are my go-tos.
Maximizes the workflow.
It does,
will totally
and
screw you
otherwise
up. And then you've lost
for an hour,
and
now you're like, I'm over this. I'm done. You know.
No, I mean those are all the things that a lot of people don't really think about.
Exactly.
They say, oh, I want to be a producer, you know, and it's like, yeah.
And what's cool for us is that for the ones that do really want to make music that don't know about it, it brings so much light to their situation, and that's really what it comes down to. You know, we're building the confidence, but we're not selling dreams for a discount. You know what I'm saying? It's true confidence where, you know, any student that has gone through the program up till now, we'd be confident having any one of them speak on behalf because they're all satisfied with where they're at and they see themselves growing.
Look at the artists that have come through Matrix.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah, dude.
Shed a little bit of light on some.
There's been some heavy hitters.
Yeah, let's name drop for a second.
I mean, I have a hard time name dropping because, you know, these are Brian's guys. You know what I mean? I personally can't take credit for none of that.
It's on behalf of Matrix Sessions.
Absolutely. But I mean, Brian is. I mean, man, he's taught guys all the way. You know, from Mac J, Jaws. You know, Nightmare. You know, there's some names that we'll keep on the raps, you know, but I mean, the list goes on and on. But I
mean, the moral of the story is that what you guys have, you know, put together and what Brian's put together, it works.
Yeah, and like I said, Brian has created and you know, myself have been lucky enough to be, you know, taught and having all this knowledge injected, but his methods are. They're crazy. I mean, I don't know how the guy does it. He's insane. But his ability to you know, teach it in layman's terms, you know, it's
a huge thing.
You know, I remember you know, when I was at Icon, we Steve Duda taught a mixing class, and that guy's so beyond intelligent.
Yeah.
That, you know, he's
like NASA smart. You know,
man, it's amazing. You know, and that's one of Brian's mentor. That's been Brian's mentor for the last, you know, 5 years. And it's, like I said, Brian's ability to pass on that info to the normal person so they can understand it and then use it and apply it.
That's always the key thing there. And I think, you know, from Jim's past and my past, because we both came from, you know, the rolling days of having to go out and teach and everything. Because again, at that time, YouTube was there, but there was no content from manufacturers to teach you how to really do anything. You know, so it was the day of product specialists that were going to all the stores and going to special studios and specialized clinics and all these things to teach, you know. And the one thing that, you know, we would always get a lot of feedback on, you know, was the way that we presented the information in a way that it made it attainable and easy for people to ingest, understand, and apply.
And the best part is when it's one-on-one, it almost turns into like a collab. You know what I mean? It's not really like a student teacher. It's like, you know, we're here and it's just an open book of questions. You know, a lot of people don't like to ask questions in front of other people. A lot of people might get, you know, mind blanks.
They feel intimidated or they're going to look at as being stupid.
Or this guy over here in the class has been on, you know, Ableton for 3 years and this guy just started. So their level of questions, it's like a spoon and a fork. You know, they shouldn't be on the same page. But I just think it lays that comfort level down. And again, it allows your mind to really take in the info that you're being given and really apply it.
Yeah, that's great. All right, well, so we're going to wrap this up.
And I'm pretty sure you guys want to see the rest of the facility, so we'll wrap this up really quick. And we'll have you know, Jimmy give us a little tour of the facility so you can check out the rooms and everything here at Matrix Sessions in Orange County.
Yeah, and again, thank you so much for...
Thanks, Jim, Mike. Always a pleasure talking to you guys, man.
See you guys
later. What's going on, guys? Jimmy from Matrix again. Just want to give you a quick tour of our facility here in Orange County. Right here, you're standing in the lobby. Quick little reception area. Nice and simple. Got a little kitchen area right here. Step right in here into our main room. This is our main studio right here. We got acoustics coming in to do a real custom job for us. It's gonna look really nice. Got ADSR in here right now doing their thing. Got a little custom booth right here, vocal booth. Also gonna be treated by acoustics. So let's head on over here into our other rooms. Right here we have another vocal booth with all capability to record to each room. And now we have 4 rooms right here. We got guys working, so we'll pop in on each one of them. What's up, fellas? Put the heat in here. Always keeps the reaches on the side. Got another one of our rooms right here. Awesome. Heat going down in every room. Another one of the rooms in here. Awesome. So those are our 4 rooms. Those are our working rooms, labs as I like to call them. All of our students all get to book time in there before, after, the whole time once you're a Matrix member. So that's our facility. Hope you guys like it. Hope to see you soon. Thanks so much.